Hello and welcome to this special interview on Arabiya News. I'm Joanne Surya. Artificial intelligence is changing the way we live, work, and even think. From self-driving cars to chatbots that can hold human-like conversations, AI is no longer science fiction. It's our reality. But what does this mean for the lives we're living now and for our future? Can it take over our lives, or is it simply a tool to make our lives better? To get more insights on this, I'm joined by Manolis Kellis, Professor of Artificial Intelligence and Computer Science at MIT. Professor, thank you so much for joining us today.
Joanna, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. To start, how would you describe artificial intelligence as it is today?
Artificial intelligence has really come a long way. It used to be faking intelligence. In other words, the humans will program every type of behavior and just simply pull the right behavior based on the circumstance, making the system seem intelligent when the system was not actually understanding anything. This changed dramatically with generative AI, with foundation models, with deep learning, and with multimodal understanding of the world. And I would say that AI has really come an enormous amount in terms of its progress. And it is surpassing human capabilities in many, many tasks already. Tasks that we once thought as intelligent have been completely wiped out by AI, pushing the boundary of what we call intelligent to more and more human-specific tasks. And therefore, the definition of artificial intelligence has changed to match the growing capabilities of these computer neuronal systems. And I would say that today, artificial intelligence has met every standard that we have set in the past and surpassed it. So we have narrowed down the definition to things that are more inherently human. But the challenge with this changing definition is that those things are also found in some of our animal relatives. For example, the emotional warmth, the care, the family values, and so on, are found in many of our animal relatives, thereby diminishing the uniqueness, if you wish, of human capabilities to this general ability to reason in a multimodal way, this common sense, this grounding, which I would say is really the last frontier of artificial and general intelligence at this point.
Should we worry that reliance on AI, artificial intelligence, might diminish human interaction?
I would say on the contrary. Right now, humans are spending an enormous amount dealing with mundane tasks, dealing with paperwork, dealing with minutes from meetings, dealing with, filling out tasks that are quite mundane. By having AI agents and avatars being able to take care of those tasks, of the more professional, the more mundane, the more systematic and brutal and repetitive, you can now free up human creativity for more challenging tasks that really require this general intelligence that we still are unique in having. But at the same time, it can free up people to spend perhaps a little bit more time with their families, a little bit more time taking care of the elderly, taking care of their children, spending time with their loved ones. So I think that by automating a lot of the needs of our time at our work and in other sort of more mundane tasks, we can actually free up more of our time for more human interactions. And therefore, it can be a net positive thing. Now, the question is, when I meet with my students, what matters more? Does it matter more that I give them solid advice about their own work and their research? Or does it matter more that it's the physical me? Because if I train an avatar based on thousands of hours of interactions with my own students, and it is able to give very good advice that can sort of untangle them in their own research based on whatever problem is at hand, based on my own thinking and philosophy about how we do research, and my own advice that I've given to many other students before, and it's able to pull this advice selectively for the problem at hand, then One could argue that I'm limiting human interaction, but one could argue also that I can be available for hundreds of students instead of the small number that any one professor can supervise at a time. So it's a trade-off.
So would you say AI has the potential to enhance human values, or could it risk eroding them?
This is also a very, very interesting question. Basically, I believe that AI can help us overcome some of the evolutionary impulses that we have. Humans have evolved from our relatives that are still around us. Like basically, we share many common principles with all of the animal kingdom. These principles are of survival, of nutrition, of reproduction, of protection of our kin. And these can manifest in beautiful ways, but these can also manifest in wars and brutality and killing and aggression and jealousy and all kinds of these values that as humans we are constantly trying to overcome. So this evolutionary origin of humans and these evolutionary principles that have led to the survival of our species are unfortunately ingrained inside us. And they are unfortunately limiting our behavior to some more impulses and urges that sometimes we're not very proud of. And the growth of our neocortex, the frontal cortex that is able to sort of be a more reasoning part of our brain and control the limbic system, the subcortical parts of our brain, is something that we have been valuing and rewarding through the Renaissance, through these human values of altruism, of taking care of not just our immediate kin, but appreciating all humans, regardless of their religion, their country of origin, their political affiliations, and so on and so forth. So I believe that AI can continue this move towards the more intellectual, towards the more pure values that we value as humans. And the question is, will the AI feel it or will it just pretend? And my answer to that, it might not matter. Do you prefer a doctor who will do absolutely the right thing and pretend to be empathetic? Or do you prefer a doctor who is more empathetic, but sometimes will make mistakes and do the wrong thing? And similarly for a professor, or you could even say for a parent. Does it matter if your parent absolutely loves you, if they're never there and they're never able to provide any of your needs? And does it matter if the parent doesn't really love you, but does everything as if they are the best parent in the world? And is able to fake this empathy and this warmth that every child needs. So if AI is able to meet all of these needs and is able to sort of help us achieve a higher standard for ourselves, for what it means to be warm and empathetic and generous and altruistic and caring for all human beings, then I believe AI can truly lift humanity past these more animal-like urges of competition and aggressivity towards the more humane values of warmth, empathy, and generosity.
So you touched on this a bit in your previous answer. In your opinion, what is the impact of AI on our collective evolution as a species?
So I would say that there has been a continuity in the evolution of humanity. If you look at nearly every metric of poverty, of crime, of nutrition, of health, of lifespan, of health span, of child survival rate, every single one of these metrics has been improving throughout the world. We still have a lot of work to do. There are still many places in the world where a child is not guaranteed to have an education, is not guaranteed to have, shelter, sufficient healthy nutrition, a future, a long lifespan. And we still have a lot of work to do. But if you compare to any previous time in the history of humanity, things have been getting better for hundreds and hundreds of years. And I think that this move towards a wealthier, healthier, calmer future is getting closer. And I think that these capabilities of AI can help us overcome many of the challenges that we're facing today. Many of these challenges are due to scarce resources. They're due to limited wealth. They're due to limited time. They're due to limited capabilities. And I think if every child grows up with an AI assistant, a tutor that is able to guide them intellectually, emotionally, strategically, making the right decisions, being always kind, always patient, always generous, always guiding them and nudging them in the right direction. I think that this can transform education. Instead of having every teacher be required to know all of the human knowledge that every student in their classroom will need, which is nearly impossible, because some of those students might be geniuses, might be able to surpass their teachers tenfold, a hundredfold, and therefore limiting what the student learns to whatever the teacher knows limits the maximum capability of the students. If instead you empower the most caring and empathetic and warm teacher, the most curious, the teachers who are willing to sit alongside the students and learn with them, and instead of the student asking the teacher the question and the teacher saying, oh, that's outside the course, or, oh, we're not going to cover that now, or, oh, this question is not something that we should address. Instead, if the teacher says, wow, that's a great question, let's sit down together and learn about it. And if the teacher has the same curiosity, then that opens the realm of teachers to not just the people who have the most knowledge, but to the people who are willing to sit along with the students and learn with them. And then suddenly we can have many, many more teachers. And we can augment these teachers with AI tutors who can help the students learn and surpass their own teachers. So as I'm sitting and learning with my children, this is exactly the attitude that I have. Where I'm like, well, here's what I know about this, but let's find out a lot more. And there's countless resources on YouTube, with videos online, on Wikipedia, with articles, and of course with ChatGPT and all of these other AI avatars that are able to respond to very detailed questions. Hey, this and that don't make sense together. Why? And you're not going to find an article already written on the internet for that. But having an AI tutor, an AI chatbot, an AI avatar, an AI agent who's able to interact with both the teacher and the parent and the student, I think will basically lift us across the world. So I think that there's, of course, a lot of misery. There's a lot of challenge. There's a lot of struggles. There's a lot of war and tension in the world today. But some of that can be alleviated by lifting everybody up, by teaching from an early age kindness and generosity and altruism, but also pushing for excellence, bringing the best out of every student, helping every student achieve their maximum potential. I think it's something that I'm really, really looking forward to.
So how do you see AI affecting our personal lives? So whether at work, for example, or even our own relationships?
I see it changing every aspect of our lives, at work, at home, with our children, with our parents, with the elderly. Imagine if every elderly person sitting in a nursing home had an AI avatar with face and, emotional reactions and voice and kindness and warmth to sit with them and chat every day. Imagine if we have every child similarly in their home, in their room, having an AI agent that is able to say, listen, you have 5 minutes to play that video game, but after that, let's get back to your homework, okay? And, encouraging them and nudging them again in the right direction. There's, of course, a lot of sci-fi movies that are painting the worst possible scenarios with AI, where AI is like invading every aspect of our privacy and controlling us and manipulating us for its own benefit. But this is a lot of anthropomorphizing of AI. This is projecting a lot of our evolutionary quirks that got us where we are. These, egocentricity and this, self-preservation and this competition and this sort of protection of kin at the detriment of others that were absolutely necessary to our own evolution and to us making it so far. But AI doesn't have to have these needs. AI doesn't have a self. AI doesn't have this evolutionary strive for survival, for domination, for ruling, and so on and so forth. And it is up to us to choose whether we want to program it into the AI or not. But it's not going to come up with it on its own if we limit the capabilities of AI systems to answer tasks that are provided by humans. Then the only thing that we need to worry about is the humans. And of course, the question is, well, won't humans use AI for malicious goals? The answer is absolutely yes. This is part of human nature. There are people who will have nefarious goals and who will use AI for either evil or for something that they think is good, but others will perceive as evil. And to that, I say, well, it comes back to the presence of any type of tool. In other words, being able to have more and more powerful computers, more and more powerful, nuclear power, more and more powerful, mobility and vehicles and so on and so forth. All of that is part of the technological progress. And a knife can be extremely helpful in, everything, in using, cutting your food, in, opening boxes and all kinds of other stuff. But it can also be a very dangerous weapon in the hands of the wrong person. And a knife can kill a person, but that doesn't mean we should outlaw knives. What we should do is provide protection against people who will want to use them for harm. And it's the same thing with AI. We need to have some barriers that will prevent the AI from, carrying out malicious, tasks. And we need to also have multiple types of AI and multiple AI systems that will basically, serve as shields against each other. But I think and of course, the ethical question becomes, what do you call harm? Is harm for one side of a conflict, the definition, is it up to the other side of the conflict to define what harm means? And I think that's something that, we together as a species and as a community and as a society, as a global society, I should say, should come to define these limits of someone's freedom, which, as the French would say, my freedom ends where your freedom begins. So you can't have infinite freedom for every person. You have to sort of have boundaries for any of that.
So what fields do you think have benefited the most from AI so far?
The list is countless. It's extraordinary. I think every aspect of science is extraordinarily benefiting from AI right now. So we're able to understand the language of DNA. We're able to understand the language of protein folding, of chemistry, of patient states and patient trajectories. We're able to understand medicine and healthcare interventions at a level unprecedented in the history of science. And in my daily work, we're using AI to bring together all of these different facets of biological function, of medical intervention, of disease manifestation, progression, and onset, and of treatment, again, design, production, and administration, to be able to advance human health at a level that is unprecedented. And I see AI's impact on human health and on the human condition as one of the longest lasting impacts of AI, and perhaps one of the greatest changes that our species will undergo, to be able to take care of the human body, of the human mind, of the human brain, of the human physiology, human immune system, and so on and so forth, at levels that are unprecedented and unimaginable right now. So we're able to uncover the pathways and the mechanisms underlying every aspect of human disease, understand interventions that can modulate each of these processes, to restore health and sometimes surpass what we call healthy now with super health and super longevity and so on and so forth. And I think that this will be extraordinary. Beyond just medicine, health, biology, chemistry, there, manufacturing, architecture, climate, food production, animal welfare, and all of these things are areas that AI can and is truly having an enormous impact. So I think that every aspect of science, engineering, manufacturing, design is absolutely touched and reshaped by AI.
I want to talk to you a little bit about AI in education. Some students are using AI tools in an ethical manner. You did mention this earlier, to learn more, to see more information that's not available in the classroom, for example. But some have been using AI to do their own assignments or even write research papers for them. How is AI affecting education in that way and the future of graduates and even professionals in various fields?
This is an enormous concern. And one possibility is that the types of assignments that we give to students are so complex that using AI is part of the only way to solve them. Namely, being able to use critical thinking, being able to sort of reason your thoughts, being able to use this, use all of these capabilities to go far beyond what any student their age would be able to do. There's another approach to education, which is goal-oriented. Namely, I'm currently working with about 40 high school students across the world, including the Middle East, where we are designing the next generation of AI systems. And those students are programming at the level of engineer with 20 years of experience. And every one of these students meets with me multiple times a week. And they work together as a team to advance the state of the art of data science and medicine and AI. And of course, I tell them, use ChatGPT for everything. And they're able to, of course, use ChatGPT, but it takes a huge amount of human reasoning to figure out what exactly I should ask the AI to help me with. And those students are 16 years old and achieving things that a 40-year-old engineer would be very proud of achieving week after week after week. So if we change education to be more goal-oriented and project-driven, where they have a goal, they have a mission, and they're doing their learning on the way to that mission, then AI becomes a friend, not a cheating tool. AI becomes a necessary ally, not the easy way out. Now, there's another aspect, of course, where they have to learn some basic foundational tools. You can teach them in the classroom with traditional approaches and an essay that they go off and read, and write at home. Or you could make the AI part of that solution. You could basically say, hey, what are the top 3 thoughts that come to mind? Bang, bang, bang. Listen, like 1 and 3 are very reasonable, but 2 is a little off topic. Can you think of a couple more? And then the student will sort of interact with AI and say, yeah, you're kind of right. What about this and that? They're like, yeah, that's good. But can you combine them perhaps in a more interesting thing? Okay, now let's structure your essay. Remember, the first thing that you need to do is come up with an outline. Can you come up with an outline? And then you do that. And then the AI becomes the tutor working with the student at home rather than the cheating tool. Oh, can you please write this essay for me? And then the student needs to submit as part of their homework the entire transcript of the interaction that they had with the AI. So that the teacher sees that it's not just, hey, can you please write this essay for me? And then suddenly you're able to augment the student experience to go beyond what was previously possible. And you have this tutoring happening throughout. And of course, there are ways to monitor the interactions of a student with the AI system. And, the parents have to sign off on this, and you have to, have certain controls on the computer, on the account, etc. But faking all of that for the student, yes, it's possible, but the act of faking it will have the end result of still learning that process of writing an essay, writing a paper, solving a challenge, and so forth. And I think that we need to also prepare students not for a world before AI, We need to prepare students for the world today. In other words, instead of asking the students to multiply two very large numbers, which is frankly useless, in any foreseeable future world, you ask the students to solve much more interesting questions. So I think that part of the disconnect is that we have an educational system that was designed 150 years ago with techniques that are literally from the future. And preparing the students for today's world requires the rethinking the type of education, the type of skills, the type of jobs that these students will have, and perhaps respecting them a little bit more as adults and giving them tasks that sometimes the teacher thinks are impossible, which is, I have to admit, something that I do with my high school students that I work with. I will make suggestions about things that I think will take months, and they'll come back in days and say, yeah, I tried this and I found this new tool and I found this new capability and, I have it. And I am constantly blown away, not just for what a 16-year-old can achieve, but for what anyone of any age can achieve in such a small amount of time.
So how close are we, would you say, to achieving sentient AI or superintelligence? So could we see AI that possesses self-awareness, emotions, or even consciousness? And what kind of impact will this have on humans if that happens?
The question is, A, whether we want that or not. And I want to distinguish different types of AGI. I mean, like a lot of people are thinking of superintelligence as necessarily sentient intelligence. And it doesn't need to be that way. Superintelligence can simply be surpassing humans in any one task. And then for many, many tasks, we have superintelligence already. Computers are able to play chess way better than we can. They're able to play Go way better than we can. They're able to solve equations and sometimes math problems way, way better than we can. So for those tasks, I would argue that AI is already super intelligent. It surpasses the vast majority of humans. I would say 99% of humans, it can already surpass in countless tasks. So that is super intelligence. The second one is general super intelligence. In other words, being able to surpass humans in the totality of human cognitive tasks. And I would say that we're still not there. I think that the ability of humans to reason, to be grounded, to bring together information from different places, to extrapolate, sometimes from their own physical experience, to think about creative solutions that are beyond what has been done before in any realm, I think that's something that's uniquely human still. So artificial general intelligence, we're still not there. As for this sentient intelligence of having a self-awareness, having a concept of oneself, this becomes a tricky situation. First of all, I'm not sure we want that. I'm not sure we need that. I think we can achieve so much with AI just being a non-sentient, super intelligent companion. And, we could agree not to push the frontiers of sentience. The second aspect, however, is, and there's a lot of philosophical debate for hundreds of years on this, what does it mean to be sentient? Does it mean that you know why you're doing something? Does it mean that you know how you're thinking and you can reason about your own thinking? Number one, in that realm, AI is already able to do that, or at least to fake that to the level that humans can. You can ask AI, hey, why were you thinking that? And it will reason about its own reasoning, similar to how humans reason about their own reason. But now the question is it faking it? But to that I will answer, are we faking it? And there's a lot of evidence that we are faking it. There are cases of humans with a severed corpus callosum, which is the part that connects the two hemispheres of the brain. When we say about our frontal cortex or about nearly every part of our brain, of our neocortex, is actually there twice. And if you sever the connection between the two halves, each one can reason somewhat independently. And you can ask a patient by showing them, closing one eye and showing them a piece of paper that says, go get a beer in the fridge next door. And then they go and do that. But on the way back, you close the other eye and you now ask them, why did you get the beer? They will say, oh, I was thirsty. So you can think of the brain as an employee who never wants to be caught not knowing, who will make up a story to explain their own behavior. And sometimes is faking that self-awareness. How many times have I gone into a room and picked up the wrong object and come back, continue doing tasks, to only then remember, oh, no, I need this other thing. And then I go back and get that other thing. So our brain will very often make up stories that will explain our world around us and sometimes the world inside us, the actions that we're taking, without being fully on top of things. So maybe we're faking it, and maybe the AI is faking it, and maybe that's fine. And again, philosophers have argued a lot that I know I'm conscious, and you know you're conscious, but you have no idea whether I'm actually conscious or I'm just faking it. And I have no idea whether you're actually conscious or you're just faking it. And again, it goes back to this whole, what is self-awareness? And can we ever be truly self-aware? Can a particular neuron reason about its own reasoning? Or can it only reason about the reasoning of other neurons? And so on and so forth. So there's a lot of philosophical dilemmas. We might not even want to get there. And in some cases, the AI can already fake reasoning. And because of all of these layers upon layers of abstraction that modern billion parameter systems are able to have, it is possible that consciousness may have actually appeared somewhere in those neurons, or at least some primitive form of consciousness. Frankly, the same way that consciousness has evolved inside our own neurons. Consciousness is not a magic thing that sits above our head. Consciousness is somewhere in our brain. And the question is, what is the basis for human consciousness? What group of neurons is responsible for that, and what are they doing? And maybe they're faking it, just like the machines are.
So you mentioned you think that AI has already surpassed human intelligence, at least 99% of it, you said. So can it get to the point where we lose control over AI? And if that happens, what might be the consequences?
So let me be clear. I did not say that. I said that for many tasks, for many specific tasks, it has surpassed human intelligence, namely human capabilities for that one task. So I want to be very cautious there, because I didn't say that it has surpassed human intelligence. However, for many of these tasks, it is superior to our capabilities. Did humans stop playing chess? No. Chess is now more popular than it has ever been in the history of chess. More humans are playing chess than ever before. Does it bother us that we'll never surpass the machine? Not at all. So you can think of chess as one of those activities that is training the human mind for strategy, for reasoning, for long-term planning, short-term gains, making a mental model of the opponent, of what they're thinking, of how they're attacking, of being able to distribute resources, being able to sort of have multiple goals, short-term and long-term goals, being able to sort of have distractions and so on and so forth, which frankly train young children to achieve many of the things that they will need as adults. So does that change the relationship that we have with, intelligence? No, we're perfectly comfortable calling a child intelligent, even if we know that machines are way more intelligent than are at those tasks. Now, your question is also, when AI surpasses human, perhaps general intelligence, will it want to take over? Will the Skynet of the Terminator series become self-aware and want to destroy us? And again, the question is, number one, do we want to encode this type of self-awareness? Do we want to program it to achieve self-awareness, which I'm not sure is a necessarily needed goal? And number two, will it have the same desires and impulses as we evolved species have to want to take over? And the answer is not necessarily, unless we program it to want that. So what I would say is that yes, it's absolutely a risk that malicious goals can be achieved with the help of AI, but that there's always a human in the loop. It's possible that AI will surpass us in many, many individual tasks. It is possible that AI will also surpass us in general intelligence. And in terms of self-awareness and wanting to, I don't know, eliminate and destroy humans, I would perhaps refer you to the Matrix trilogy of keeping humans around because they're kind of interesting and they can think outside the box and they can, maybe surprise us sometimes. And these syllogisms that Agent Smith has, speaking with Neo, about the machine, trying to figure out what it is that humans really want. And it comes down to that choice of, humans. But again, there's philosophical discussions about whether we truly have choices or whether those choices are in fact the result of circumstances, whether you can predict human choices in the short term, but you can't predict them in the long term, whether by the time we're consciously making a choice, our brain has already chosen and we're just executing that choice. So anyway, I think, a lot of philosophical debates. I don't have all the answers, and I don't think any of us has all the answers about where this balance lies between humans and machines in consciousness, in the goals, in volition. Maybe the desire to take over is not necessarily a product of evolution. Maybe any sentient entity sufficiently powerful will decide that humans are a nuisance and they're not even entertaining, like Agent Smith would think. And, maybe in order to answer all of the questions in the universe, the AI will need to eliminate humans first because they're, standing in the way. But I can imagine a scenario where after it has conquered all of humanity or enslaved them or sort of created the matrix, the AI basically realizes that, okay, now I know every answer in the universe. I am kind of bored. I wish that humans were still around. So anyway, we're many science fiction movies away from this. And I think that in the near term, AI can be a force for good. I think that super intelligence in so many tasks is absolutely a goal of my research, a goal of many people's research. And I think it will be needed to elevate the human condition to levels that we have not previously reached. I think that it will allow us to achieve perhaps levels of empathy, of generosity, of altruism that we have never before seen, levels of education, of growth, of kindness, of taking care of the elderly and of our loved ones that, again, have never been before achieved. And I think that having an AI assistant for every working professional, having an AI tutor for every student, having an AI, co-teacher for every classroom, I think will be a net benefit for all of humanity. We still live in a world of limited resources where, energy is not infinite, food is not infinite, space is not infinite, resources are not infinite. And therefore human conflict continues and there are unfortunately still so many struggles in the world. But I believe AI can be a force for lifting everyone from, the top student in the class to achieve levels unimagined before, to every student in the class to achieve what would traditionally not have been possible in terms of career, in terms of, creativity, in terms of self-fulfillment and self-instantiation. So I'm an optimist. I think that we can truly achieve a lot with the help of AI, improve the path of humanity to levels never before seen, and that we need to be very cautious about the self-consciousness part of AI, because that's the place where some of these unexpected behaviors can sometimes arise. And I would argue that perhaps we don't need self-consciousness.
Maybe next time we can have AI avatar conducting an interview.
Let me call the real Manolis and see what he thinks about that.
Professor Manolis Kellis, thank you so much for your time and your insights.
Joanna, thank you so much for the great conversation. Really enjoyed it. Bye-bye.